fellow parliamentarians and ladies and gentlemen. We shall begin our meeting. Welcome back. And begin our meeting, this time the second plenary session. We have 7 items in the agenda to be considered, to be adopted or approved accordingly. The first one is the presentation of reports of the committees, the report of AIPA, and the report on the dialogues with observer countries by the chairperson. I would like now to invite the Honorable Tan Sri Dato' K.S. Nija, the chairperson of the Committee on Political Matters, to have the floor to present his report.
Your Excellency, the President of AIPA, distinguished parliamentarians, good afternoon. The meeting of the Committee on Political Matters was convened on 21 August 2007 at Shangri-La Hotel, Kuala Lumpur, from 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. The meeting was presided over by me, with the Honorable Mr. Lau Yeng Peng taking up the role of rapporteur. A total of 27 delegates from all the member countries and from Brunei Darussalam participated in this meeting. The Union of Myanmar was not represented. The countries that participated are as follows: the Kingdom of Cambodia, the Republic of Indonesia, Lao People's Democratic Republic, Malaysia, the Republic of the Philippines, the Republic of Singapore, the Kingdom of Thailand, the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, and Brunei Darussalam. 2 draft reports and 8 resolutions were tabled and discussed. These reports and resolutions are as follows: report on the 12th ASEAN Summit by the Philippines delegation, report on the dialogue session between AIPA and the high-level task force on the drafting of the ASEAN Charter by the AIPA delegation, draft resolution on the establishment of the AIPA caucus, draft resolution on harmonization of laws to combat the drug menace, draft resolution on harmonization of laws to combat trafficking in persons, draft resolution on regional maritime security and anti-piracy cooperation, draft resolution on multilateral extradition treaty, draft resolution on acceleration of the establishment of an ASEAN extradition treaty, draft resolution on enhancing AIPA's role and contribution to the ASEAN Charter, draft resolution on the inclusion of the ASEAN Parliament in the ASEAN Charter as part of the vision of an ASEAN community. Because of some similarities, the meeting decided and agreed to merge 4 resolutions, namely the 2 on extradition treaty and the remaining 2 on the ASEAN Charter, into 2 resolutions. The reports on the 12th ASEAN Summit and dialogue session between AIPA and the high-level task force and resolutions on trafficking in persons, regional maritime security and anti-piracy, extradition treaty, and AIPA's role and contribution to the ASEAN Charter were unanimously adopted. The resolutions on the AIPA caucus and the drugs menace were also unanimously adopted with some very minor amendments. The meeting agreed that the establishment of the AIPA caucus would promote greater involvement by parliamentarians in matters related to ASEAN. The meeting also agreed on the importance of joint efforts in eradicating drug trafficking, human trafficking, combating transnational crime, and safeguarding the peace, security, and stability of the region. The executive summary, which I've just read out, of the meeting of the political matters of the political committee is now presented for the approval of the 28th AIPA General Assembly. A more detailed report is tabled in front of you together with the other papers. Thank you, sir, for the time given to me. Thank you very much to everybody.
Delegates, you have heard the reports from Dr. Srinija, Chairperson for the Committee on Political Matters. May I have your decisions, whether agreed or otherwise, on the report as presented? Yes. Cambodia, please. Agreed. Indonesia? Tao PDR?
We agree, Mr. Chairman.
Malaysia?
Of course, agreed.
Philippines? I didn't ask you, I asked your colleagues. Singapore?
Agree.
Thailand?
Yes, we agree.
Vietnam?
Yes, Vietnam feel comfortable with the report. Thank you.
Brunei Darussalam?
Agreed.
Myanmar? It's not here. All right, now, delegates, when we proceed to the presentation of the reports, it's agreed then, yeah? Presentation of the report of the Committee on Economic Matters. I therefore would like to invite the Honorable Dato Sri Diraja Said Razlan, Said Putra Jamalulai, the chairperson for this committee, to have the floor and present his report.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and good afternoon. Your Excellency, the President of AIPA, distinguished parliamentarians, the meeting of the Committee on Economic Matters was held on the 21st of August 2007 at the Shangri-La Hotel, Kuala Lumpur, from 8:30 to 11 a.m. The meeting was presided by me and the Honorable Tuan Haji Fadillah bin Yusuf acted as the rapporteur. The meeting involved 22 delegates from all member countries and Brunei Darussalam. The Union of Myanmar was not represented. The countries that were there were Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos PDR, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, and Brunei Darussalam. Honorable members, 9 draft resolutions were prepared and tabled for discussion, and they were subsequently approved. They were as follows: food security and right to food, economic integration, narrowing the economic gap between the original and new ASEAN members, energy security, intellectual property rights, agricultural marketing information system in ASEAN, alternative energy, creation of an Asian monetary fund, debt for equity in the United Nations Millennium Goal, proposal to reduce poverty. The issues covered during the deliberations were the problems of development gap among ASEAN members, debts, Asian Monetary Fund, cooperation in agricultural marketing, accelerated economic integration, implementation of the ASEAN Food Security Information System, or AFSIS, intellectual property rights, energy, and the problem of hunger in the region. Delegations were in consensus on the need to further enhance regional cooperation to strengthen the region's economic growth by tapping fully existing infrastructures and by strengthening and improving regional logistics. Other agreements reached were as follows. Firstly, the committee acknowledged that promoting food security is an important measure in eradicating poverty and preventing hunger in the ASEAN region. On the matter, the committee urged the AIPA member countries to ensure the successful implementation of the ASEAN Food Security Information System. Secondly, the committee encouraged all the AIPA member countries to facilitate and increase the momentum of development intra-regionally to reduce the economic gap among ASEAN and to enable AIPA member countries to develop together as a region. Thirdly, the committee also urged all AIPA member countries to socially and legally entrench intellectual property rights in each member state. Fourthly, the committee agreed that the draft on alternative energy and energy security be combined and recommended all the AIPA member countries to enhance awareness of and research on the question of energy security and the search for alternative energy sources. Finally, the committee called upon all AIPA member countries to pursue the debt for equity policy in order to eradicate poverty. On the issue of promoting greater regional financial and monetary cooperation, the committee concurred on the needs to undertake studies on the creation of Asian Monetary Fund. Mr. President, honorable parliamentarians, I present here with the report for the meeting of the Committee on Economic Matters. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sri Sai Raslan, for your report. May I now invite your decision, comments on this matter, if any. I begin with Cambodia.
No opposition.
No comments.
No comment.
Indonesia, please.
We agree, thank you.
Thank you. Lao PDR.
Mr. Chairman, we have no comments and we agree. Thank you.
Thank you. Malaysia.
Mr. Chairman, sir, we agree.
Philippines.
Philippines agrees.
Singapore.
We agree.
Thank you. Thailand.
We agree without comment.
Without comment, sorry. Vietnam, please.
Vietnam is highly appreciated work done by the chairman of the committee and other members of the committee, and we propose to adopt the report. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Brunei Darussalam.
Yes.
Myanmar. Thank you very much. The report is then approved by the delegates. Thank you. Now we proceed to the next committee's report by inviting the Honorable Dr. Junaidi Abdul Wahab, the chairperson for the Committee on Social Matters, to have the floor and accordingly present his report.
Your Excellencies, the President of AIPA, and the fellow parliamentarians. I have the honor to submit the following report of Committee on Social Matters to this General Assembly. The committee met on the 21st August 2007 at 8:45 a.m. and ended at 1 p.m. I have presided the session with Honorable Teng Pen Soon as the rapporteur. Members of the committee deliberated and approved the 9 draft resolutions for adoption to this General Assembly. A comprehensive discussion addressing issues of common interest concerning the AIPA member countries have been carried out, and some amendments were made and approved. The role of regional parliamentarians in building an ASEAN community and their vital role in building a proactive community in fostering regional peace, security, and stability was the first resolution discussed and adopted. The second resolution discussed was the need for cooperative effort to resolve the problems of transboundary haze-related pollution, sustainable management of the environment, and the biodiversity conservation. Therefore, the delegates felt it is crucial to address the problem of environmental degradation through multilateral cooperation. Thirdly, discussion on research cooperation for the future direction of AIPA. The committee acknowledged that AIPA member countries need to focus on elimination of potential conflict in Southeast Asia as its primary responsibility, and to soften the effect of actual conflicts. This can be done by further strengthening the national and regional resilience through closer political, economic, social culture, educational, and research cooperation. The fourth resolution discussed was on educational cooperation in human resource development among AIPA member countries. The committee exchanged views and discussed the importance of education in promoting ASEAN socio-economic development. The discussion was also on securing the objective of building a strong ASEAN socio-culture community on how ASEAN's diverse educational heritage can facilitate effort to enhance the necessary skill of their people to cope with globalization and rapid technology advancement. Next is on how AIPA member countries should establish a platform to obtain necessary and updated scientific information on risk assessment principle to support the harmonization process of food safety standards in ASEAN countries. The other pertinent resolution that was discussed was on the role of AIPA member countries to safeguard the human rights and the fundamental freedom of individuals and the right of migrant workers. They also recommended that establishment of the committee should conduct research and cooperative survey on national legislation, regulation, and measures of the AIPA member countries on migration, and also identified the possibilities of common legislative and policy initiative. On the resolution of the climate change as a regional challenge, the committee discussed the Cebu Declaration on East Asia Energy Security adopted by the second East Asian Summit in January 2007. Its aim to use alternative energy, cleaner and lower emission technologies, and to urge ASEAN leaders to commit in implementing the Cebu Declaration on East Asian Energy Security. The next resolution discussed was on the recent re-emergence and resurgence of certain infectious and communicable diseases in the region. Some of these diseases have transformed into strains capable of causing a pandemic. The unpredictable nature of these diseases has caused human casualties in many countries in the region. Finally, the last resolution discussed was on the 27th General Assembly calling upon all AIPA member countries to perform their role in the implementation of environmental law, promoting and encouraging the planting, maintaining, and monitoring the survival rate of 1 billion trees in each country, wherever possible, as a part of their reforestation program. AIPA member countries should make their carbon credit available, which was embodied in Kyoto Protocol, as a practical step to implement the earlier 27 GA/06/SOG/04 AIPO resolution. The committee also recommended that relevant bodies and committees of the AIPA member countries to table this resolution in their agenda with the dialogue partners to help finance their reforestation program. I now present the report of the meeting of the Committee on the Social Matters for the approval of this Assembly. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Junaidi, for presenting the reports of the Committee on Social Matters. May I now have the comments? Any comments from the members or decision? I call one by one. Cambodia first.
Agree.
Thank you. Indonesia?
Indonesia agree. Thank you.
Lao PDR?
Laos agrees, Mr. Chairman.
Malaysia?
We agree.
Philippines?
Philippines agrees.
Singapore?
We agree.
Thailand?
Thailand agrees, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Vietnam?
Mr. Chairman, we are joining other delegation in proposing to adopt this report. Thank you.
Brunei? Brunei?
No comment. Okay.
Myanmar? Ladies and gentlemen, since there's no comments on this matter, our delegation have agreed. The report is now adopted. Thank you. We shall now proceed to the next report. I invite the Honorable Dr. Tan Seng Gyo, Chairperson for the Committee on Organizational Matters. Can we have your report, please?
Mr. President, Chair, distinguished delegates, the Committee on Organization Matters met on the 21st of August from 8:45 a.m. to 11:25 p.m. a.m. And the rapporteur was the Honorable Razali bin Ibrahim. Participants were from all member countries except Myanmar. 3 resolutions, 1 draft resolutions, and 1 proposal were presented and discussed. We debated at length the proposal for the upgrading, redesignation, and creation of new posts and increase of salary and emoluments of the AIPA secretarial staff. We agreed that the annual contribution by member countries be increased from 20,000 US dollars to 30,000 US dollars and instructed the AIPA Secretariat to adjust budget proposal for the financial year 2007 to 2008, and the revised budget proposal for the financial year 2007 and 2008 was unanimously approved. We passed unanimously the revised proposal submitted by the AIPA Secretariat on the upgrading, redesignation, and creation of new posts, as well as increase in salary or emolument of the AIPA Secretariat staff members. We have agreed that the selection and the appointment of all staff members of the Secretariat shall be upon the sole authority of the Secretary General of AIPA. Mr. President, sir, I present the report of the Committee on Organizational Matters for the approval of the Assembly. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tan Seng Gyo, for the report just presented. May I now call upon the delegates to have your comments or approval. Cambodia?
Cambodia agree.
Indonesia?
We agree. Thank you.
Lao PDR?
Lao PDR agrees, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Malaysia?
We agree.
Philippines?
Philippines agrees.
Thank you. Singapore?
We agree.
Thank you. Thailand?
Thailand agrees.
Thank you. Vietnam?
Vietnam agrees. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Brunei Darussalam?
No objection, Mr. Chairman.
Myanmar? The report is then approved. Thank you. The next report is by the same person, the Honorable Dr. Tan Seng Gyo, who is the rapporteur of the Committee on AIPA this time. Please.
Mr. President, sir, distinguished parliamentarians. The AIPA meeting was held on the 19th of August between 9 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. The chairperson was the Honorable Rosna Abdul Rashid Sherlin, but she's indisposed. So you can see that we in Malaysia, the male parliamentarians and female parliamentarians work very closely. The participants from 8 member countries took part in a meeting. 3 draft resolutions were presented, discussed, and subsequently agreed on by all delegates. The resolutions encompass the elimination of violence against women and children, women poverty and economic development, women in power and decision-making. Fellow delegates, first, we have agreed on there should be concerted efforts at protecting women and children against all forms of violence through diverse means, including one which is legal binding. Various suggestions were put forward, including the advancement of cross-border law enforcement mechanisms to contain the trafficking of humans. Secondly, there has to be common resolve to lift women out of the scourge of poverty through empowerment, which can be achieved by putting in place instruments which support all-round development of women in AIPA member countries. The suggestions put forward during the meeting include the development and institutionalization of gender-responsive policies, in addition to establishing instruments to monitor gender-based analysis of expenditure. Thirdly, there was collective agreement that more recognition to women in holding leadership positions, which translate into accessibility to decision-making processes. One common stand is the importance of education as a critical factor that can help empower women and liberate them from prejudices which have for so long been accepted and not questioned as part of the culture of AIPA member countries. Mr. President, sir, I hereby present the report of the AIPA Committee for the approval of the Assembly. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Dr. Tan Seng Gyao, for your report, this time on women in AIPA. Once again, I would like to call upon the delegates to have your comments and approval. Cambodia, please.
Cambodia agree.
Indonesia.
Indonesia agree.
Lao PDR.
Lao PDR agrees, Mr. Chairman.
Malaysia.
We agree.
Thank you. The Philippines.
Agree.
Thank you. Singapore, please.
We agree.
Thailand.
Thailand agrees.
Thank you. Vietnam.
Yes, we agree. Thank you.
Brunei Darussalam.
No comment.
Thank you. Myanmar. Yeah. Thank you. Since there are no comments and all agreed, then we have the reports adopted accordingly. Thank you. We'll now proceed to the presentation of the report of the panel dialogue with observer countries. I'd like to invite the Honorable Dr. Wan Junaidi Tuanku Jafar, the coordinator of chairpersons for the panel of dialogue, to have the floor and present his report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Mr. President, please bear with me. I'm reporting the dialogue met between the ASEAN, comprised of the representative from 500 million people with the representative of countries comprised of 2.2 billion people. So, Mr. President, the report here is the ideas and aspiration of nearly 33.22% of the world population of 6.9 billion. Thank you, Mr. President. Your Excellency, President AIPA, distinguished parliamentarian, the dialogue session between the AIPA member countries and members of the observed delegation Australia, Canada, European Parliament, Japan, People's Republic of China, Republic of Korea, and Russian Federation were convened in 2 consecutive sessions, scheduled for 1:45 p.m. to 3:45 p.m. and 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. respectively yesterday. The first session involved the dialogue delegation from Australia, Canada, Republic of China, European Union, while the second session involved the dialogue with the delegation from Japan, Korea, Republic of Korea, and Russian Federation. The dialogue discussed matters of common concern vis-à-vis bilateral and multilateral issues, besides providing the forum for exchanging views on lessons learned and seeking commonalities. The dialogue session with Australian delegation involved around issues that concern regional and international political matters, economic, trade, and cooperation, environment, educational, and cultural cooperation. Australia expressed its appreciation for ASEAN's contribution to the advancement of peace, regional cooperation, and prosperity. It was acknowledged that the relations forged with ASEAN were mutually beneficial, which not only translated into enhanced trade and economic growth, but also closer tie in area of capacity building with regard to various sectors listed as mentioned just now. With education being much talked about issue when it comes to ASEAN member countries, bilateral relation with Australia. The dialogue session with Canada delegation touched on a range of issues, both bilateral and multilateral, including education, advanced technology, politics, terrorism, economy and trade, transboundary migration, immigration requirement, FTA, as well as matters that pertain to civil societies and non-governmental organizations. The dialogue session underscored the important place by those party to numerous bilateral and multilateral linkages involving the range of sectors listed, with some partners having forged closer ties with Canada, while the others being in the process of resolving issues seeking commonalities with reference to bilateral relation toward advancing mutual benefit, particularly for the betterment of party less endowed. It was acknowledged that Canada was considered a focal point that could effectively facilitate effort to address regional international issues of common concern, considering the cutting edge it has, especially in terms of economic strength, political mileage enjoyed at international level. In this context, AIPA was of the view that Canada was in good position to pave the way for ASEAN to benefit from matters of concern, the IMF, AFTA, and WTO. The dialogue session with the delegation from European Union Parliament saw EU parliamentarians fielding questions that pertain to the Aceh peace process, restriction on European airspace against various airlines, illegal logging, and trading of timber in EU nations. Sharing session on lessons learned vis-à-vis European Union input on alternative energy, establishment of common currency and central fund, mechanism to address an economic showdown, and possibility of enhanced bilateral, multilateral relation and capacity building. The dialogue provided space for lessons learned considering EU experience of having gone through the process of regional nationhood previously experienced by ASEAN. Although there was outstanding matters to be resolved at bilateral level, particularly in the realm of sovereignty and human rights, the delegation emphasized with ASEAN, it is seek some lead that would help pave the way to realize ASEAN community. Head of European Parliament, Honorable Hamid Nasser, provided an insight into his view on ASEAN and drafting of ASEAN Charter. Respectively, in his paper, the European Union as a model for the ASEAN question. In his opening remark, distributed to those participated in the dialogue. The dialogue session with the delegation from People's Republic of China discussed common concern at bilateral and multilateral level, including the preservation of safe passage in the South China Sea, China's stand on the use of chemical in food and agriculture commodities, environment and sustainable development, investment, venture, tourism, human resource development. The Chinese delegation also fielded questions on peripheral issues such as relation with Japan, Taiwan, and North Korea. Mr. President, the dialogue underlined China's appreciation of the enmity and exists in the relation with ASEAN member countries. The delegation further reiterated the absence of outstanding difficulties and issues with the country's ASEAN partners, but only matters which would facilitate the advancement of commonalities at bilateral and multilateral level. The delegation had particularly shown interest in enhancing economic cooperation for mutual benefit of all concerned, among it with the joint study and joint exploration in South China Sea, particularly at the level of AIPA member countries. The delegation also assured the audience country's seriousness of observing standards in its production and export of food commodities, bearing in mind the need to address an outstanding issue that concerns excessive use of chemical in food production. The dialogue also provided a venue for further outstanding issues of common concern. We would subsequently help in exploring possibilities and opportunities in relevant factors that could be mutually beneficial in the context of bilateral and multilateral relations. The dialogue session between AIPA delegate and delegation with the Republic of Korea saw the latter reaffirming their commitment to regional peace, enhanced cooperation between the country and AIPA member countries in matters of common concern, which include initiatives to ensure future with only one Korea. In line with this, the delegation also reiterated on a more current concern. The South Korean expressed the hope to seek the understanding of ASEAN partners, particularly Malaysia, as the chair of OIC, to facilitate effort to the release of Korean hostages in Afghanistan. On other matters discussed, the dialogue concerns South Korea's commitment to observe the Kyoto Protocol as a means of preserving global environment through various mechanisms, among which are the introduction of preventive measures to check members of the AIPA delegation, environment degradation initiative towards sustainable economic development. Members of the AIPA delegation expressed their appreciation of the concern and commitment shown by the South Korea, particularly for member countries which have benefited from its magnanimous gesture at contributing toward a better world. At the same time, AIPA delegation had also registered their concern on the issue of migrant workers in South Korea. In response, the South Korean delegation informed the meeting that the matter would be duly addressed. The dialogue session between AIPA and delegation from Russian Federation encompassed issues of common concern as well as sharing session concerning the government effort at rebuilding the country following economic crisis 1990, which badly affected its economy. Russia, according to the delegation, is very much rebuilding the country, which is considered as having passed only its 15th year of nationhood. It was on this premise that dialogue revolved around as a main concern as reviving its domestic interests, advancing economic development. Issues of common concern which surfaced during the dialogue include education as well as economic and trade opportunities. At bilateral as well as multilateral level, the Russian delegation was hopeful that both worlds work toward enhancement economic cooperation, while at the same time acknowledging constraints it faced as a parliamentarian vis-a-vis a promotion of business venture between ASEAN and Russian business community. The delegation urged the ASEAN through AIPA engaged campaign to promote the countries in Russian market. Thank you very much, Mr. President, for bearing with me for such a long report. Mr. President, sir, I present the report of the dialogue held between AIPA member country and its dialogue partners. Thank you.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Dato' Wan Junaidi, for your detailed report, giving us valuable insight into the subject and the matters discussed with observer countries. I now, once again, call upon delegates for your comments or approval. Cambodia?
Cambodia agree.
Indonesia?
Indonesia agree.
Lao PDR?
We agree.
Thank you. Malaysia?
We agree.
Philippines?
Agree.
Singapore?
We agree.
Thank you. Thailand?
We agree.
Thank you. Vietnam?
Vietnam agrees. Thank you.
Thank you. Brunei Darussalam?
We agree.
Thank you. And since there are no comments, all agreed, the report is then adopted. Thank you. The last report is the report of the Committee on Joint Communique. I would like now to call upon the Honorable Dr. Tan Seng Yao again, Chairperson for the Committee on Joint Communique, to have the floor and present his report.
Mr. President, sir, distinguished delegates, the scheduled meetings of the joint communique were on the 21st and 23rd of August. The chairman was actually the Honorable Dato' Makiman, but because of unforeseen circumstances, he was not able to be there. But he did the preparatory work, just like all the secretarial staff. He did the arrangement. Now, the rapporteur for the Joint Communique Committee was Honorable Tan Lien Ho, who did a good job. There were participants from all member countries except Myanmar. The committee agreed unanimously on the format of the joint communique, which every one of you has in front of you. That's the format of the joint communique agreed unanimously. It contains the summary of the resolutions passed by all the 6 committees, namely AIPA, Executive Committee, Committees on Political, Economic, Social, and Organizational Matters. Ladies and gentlemen, there was an omission in the communique, that is on the Union of Myanmar on page 6. There's the commission. There were few burning issues, but there was one particular issue that I should at least mention here, that was on this perennial ASEAN Parliament. But finally, the committee did agree on this aspect. It urged the high-level task force on the drafting of the ASEAN Charter to make an unequivocal, clear, and specific mention that AIPA will play a more effective role in legislative, consultation, and formulation as a part of an ASEAN community. Ladies and gentlemen, it's all summarized in the joint communique. I submit this joint communique for approval by the Assembly. Thank you, Mr. President, sir.
Thank you, the Honorable Dr. Tan Seng Yao again, Chairperson for the Committee on Joint Communique. Now, once again, I would like to ask you to give your comments. Cambodia.
Cambodia, no comment. Agree.
Indonesia.
Yes, Your President. Yeah, my President. We have some comments on the number 25. The Assembly of Joint Communique was informed by the Indonesian delegation that letters received from members of the Myanmar MPS in exile requesting to be included as special observer in the next AIPA General Assembly meeting. The Assembly agreed that the matter to be referred to the Executive Committee meeting for decision. Thank you.
We are referring to this matter.
Yeah. There's a request by Myanmar in exile, is it? Through the Indonesian delegates to have the matter of inclusion. Please again, the matter of?
Yeah, they would like, they request to be included at the next General Assembly, the next AIPA General Assembly meeting.
To be included in the next AIPA.
As observers.
AIPA General Assembly as observer. I think as this is matters that will have to be politically discussed and analyzed, I think it would be better that the delegates concerned from Indonesia or any of the delegates from Indonesia later to have letters sent to the Secretary General of AIPA to have this subject, whether to be included or not. And then whether it is to be discussed by the Executive Committee. Because we cannot decide now. Yeah? It will have to be discussed later. And if it's accepted, of course, it will be brought to the AIPA General Assembly. If it is not accepted by the committee concerned or the Executive Committee, then the matter will fall there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Vietnam.
Vietnam.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We think we cannot open up the discussion on the matter now, but we would like to propose to refer the matter to the next General Assembly for further discussion and adoption and decision as well. So that I would propose the last sentence to be reformed. The committee agreed that the matter be referred to the next AIPA General Assembly for decision. Because the matter depends on the General Assembly to decide. That's why we propose to reformulate somehow the last sentence of the program. If it is possible for the General Assembly to accept. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any comments, other comments on this matter? That this matter that be put to the General Assembly now to be formulated.
Mr. Chairman, may I repeat now the last sentence? Okay, the committee agreed that the matter be referred to the next AIPA General Assembly for decision. Thank you.
Singapore is asking for recognition.
Yeah, Singapore, please.
Singapore supports the amendment by Vietnam.
Yeah. Any other comments? But this reference to the General Assembly, technically, we will have to go through the Executive Committee first. Yeah? To be discussed and then be brought to the General Assembly.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we should follow the procedure. Before be undertaken by the General Assembly, it should be go through the Executive Committee meeting as usual. Thank you.
Agreed? Is it agreed? Agreed?
Mr. Chairman, the decision then of the President of AIPO is to refer the matter, toss the matter over to the Executive Committee. And that is the right decision. The Philippines supports that. The President by himself cannot make any decision on this matter. It is the Executive Committee that can do so under our charter. So let it be.
All right.
The matter is then referred to the Executive Committee for resolution.
Thank you. Is it agreed? I presume that the delegates agree on that route, yeah? That the matter has got to be referred first to the Executive Committee, and if agreed, it will then be referred to the General Assembly. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, maybe to be clear, that the matter should be decided by the General Assembly.
Pardon?
And, sorry, it is to be clear that the matter to be referred to the General Assembly to decide. First, it's not by the President, but not by the EXCOM, because when General Assembly would like to decide something, it should be going through the Executive Committee. It's normal procedure for us. So that no need to mention Executive Committee meeting here. We mention General Assembly just enough. Thank you.
No, the Executive Committee has got an entity by itself, because under our statute, it determines the agenda to be discussed in the General Assembly.
Mr. Chairman, if I would assist in clarifying this.
Yeah, sure.
The Executive Committee will not make any decision whatsoever on that. The Executive Committee will discuss the agenda, and then will bring this to the General Assembly for approval of the agenda. So referring to the Executive Committee is not wrong. It's correct.
I think that's the position. And may I have again your approval? All right. I presume so. Thank you very much. If there are no other comments, who else just now? Lau, please. Any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Lao delegation recognized this matter of government in exile is a very sensitive issue. When we were in the Committee of Joint Communique, we did not hear about this term. Of course, there was a proposal made by the Indonesian delegation, but we are not comfortable with the term government in exile. But we agree that since this matter is very sensitive, it should be handled not by the Committee of Joint Communique, but rather, since it is proposed by a member country, to be transferred to the Executive Committee, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
It's just a reaffirmation of what we have said. Malaysia?
Mr. President, sir, I'm also not very comfortable with the expression government in exile. But, you know, I don't know what to say. I think the letters have come, the letters have been received. If a decision is to be taken, obviously it should be taken by the most important body in AIPA, namely the General Assembly, through recommendation for or against by the EXCO.
Yeah, it will have to be the Executive Committee, the matter brought before the Executive Committee, and the Executive Committee will bring the matter back to the General Assembly.
General Assembly for
Yeah.
final approval.
Yeah. The Philippines?
On this matter of parliamentarians in exile, we adhere to the principle that this should be decided by the Assembly itself upon recommendation of the Executive Committee as part of the agenda for the next AIPA meeting.
Thank you. Thank you. Singapore? Yes.
Chairman, actually, this issue was brought during the joint committee meeting, and we actually agreed and suggested to Indonesia that this will be tabled as an AOB item under the second plenary session. So actually, strictly speaking, it shouldn't be in this report, because it's supposed to be tabled as an AOB after we have gone through all the reports. So it's not a joint communique report per se. That's why we have got these problems. If it's an AOB, then it can be discussed at the second plenary session, and you'll be referred to the EXCO to be included as an item in the General Assembly for approval in the next meeting. So actually, it shouldn't be inside here.
Yeah. It's more a matter of technicality, because that's, the same member can bring it up again in any other matter. Yeah. Thank you. I take your comment. I take note of your comments. Thailand?
Thailand, we endorse the views of the Laotian delegation.
Yes. Thank you. Take note of that. Vietnam?
Chairman, we'd like to know the final ideas from the chair, from the president. What we should undertake on the issues? Because we have different proposals from Singapore, from Laos, different, and from us as well. And we'd like to listen to you, how it will be decided on the communique. Thank you.
Okay. I'll take that just as comment, as a comment. Now, Brunei Darussalam?
Brunei Darussalam, no comment, please.
Comment. All right. Well, if that is what you feel, that technically it should be discussed as any other matter, but then we also have gauged from here what your decision will be. So I think we'll refer this this matter on any other matter, yeah? on the agenda of any other matter. All right. Any other comments on the joint communique? If there are no other comments, objection, then I presume that the report is adopted. My colleagues on my right has successfully managed to persuade me to use the gavel at last, for the first time. Thank you very much. We have completed the adoption of the reports of the various committees, including our reports on our dialogue with our dialogue partners, observer countries. Now we will proceed to the next item on the agenda. That is the date and venue for the 29th AIPA General Assembly, which will be held in Singapore. I would like to inform you that the last Sunday, on the 19th of August 2007, the Executive Committee had a meeting with the Singapore delegation and was formally informed by the Singapore delegation, the Speaker himself, that the 29th AIPA General Assembly will be held in Singapore from the 19th to the 24th of August 2008, next year. Now, whether you have any comments on this General Assembly, on the dates?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Was that?
Yeah.
Put up your hand. Yes. Oh, sorry. Yes.
I just want to make sure that the 19th of August falls on Sunday or on Monday, I don't know, because otherwise it's going to be a bit awkward. Of course, it's up to Singapore, but just, I mean, are we sure that 19th of August is Sunday or Monday?
Tuesday.
It's Tuesday. If it is Tuesday, is it all right?
It's a weekday. A weekday should be all right. Should be all right, yeah?
Mr. Chairman, we'd like to know whether Singapore is aware of the fact that the 19th of August next year would fall on a Tuesday. Okay? That's all right with us.
Yes, we are aware.
So I presume that it is accepted, adopted. Thank you very much. Our next meeting will be in Singapore between the 19th to the 24th of August 2008. Thank you. Now we move on to our next item, the signing of the agreement on the establishment of an AIPA Secretariat and the signing of the joint communique by the leaders of the delegation of member countries and special observers. I will now hand over the floor to the Master of Ceremony.
Your Excellencies, honorable
do you mean
delegates,
by
ladies
think
and gentlemen. The next agenda on our item is the signing of the agreement on establishment of an AIPA Secretariat, followed by the signing of joint communique. Without further ado, I now invite head of delegates of AIPA member countries and special observers to come forward to the signing table for the signing of the agreement. I would also like to invite 5 members of the delegation to witness the ceremony. Let us begin with Cambodia. Thank you, Cambodia. Now can we have head of delegation of Indonesia and the delegates, please come forward to the signing table. Thank you. Now, head of delegation of Lao PDR and also members of the delegation. Thank you. Next on the list is head of delegation of Malaysia and members of the delegation. Thank you. Next, can we have head of delegation of the Philippines and members of the delegation? Thank you. Now, head of delegation of Singapore and the members of the delegation. Thank you. Now may I have the head of delegation of Thailand and members of the delegation to the signing table, please. Thank you. Now I would like to call upon Head of Delegation of Vietnam and members of the delegation to the signing table. Thank you. And the head of delegation from Brunei Darussalam and its members of the delegation. Thank you, Brunei Darussalam. Last but not least, I would like to invite His Excellency, the President of AIPA himself, with Secretary General of AIPA and all the chairpersons of the committee to come forward to the signing table. Thank you, Your Excellency. Now I would like to call upon the President of AIPA to deliver the closing speech.
Excellencies, the heads of delegations, speakers, members of parliaments member countries, the honorable delegates from Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, PDR, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, and Malaysia, and special observer countries, Brunei Darussalam and Myanmar, observer countries, Australia, Canada, China, the European Union, Japan, Korea, and the Russian Federation. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to the conclusion of our 28th General Assembly. Over several days, we have seriously deliberated on many matters of common interest in the traditional ASEAN friendship, brotherhood, cooperation, and mutual understanding and compromise. We have approached issues confronting our region from the perspective of legislators, and we have expeditiously found consensus on ways and means to resolve them. What needs to be done now is for us to look into the implementation of the resolution that we have adopted here in collaboration with our respective governments. At this assembly, we have reiterated that parliamentarians play an important role in the efforts at achieving the goals and objectives of ASEAN. And as we move at a greater pace towards the realization of an ASEAN community by 2015, we become more and more aware of the need on our part to assist in the building of the legal infrastructure for the envisaged ASEAN community through the formation of common legislative initiatives and the harmonization of laws and legislation, and resolve to come up with common laws where possible. During the last few days, we have also repeatedly expressed the hope that we would one day be in a position to establish the ASEAN Parliament. On this, we concur that we would all go back and strongly urge our respective government to agree on the inclusion of the future establishment of an ASEAN Parliament as a long-term objective. in the Statute of AIPA and the ASEAN Charter. I emphasize this is just an expression of hope and a long-term objective and goal. In the meanwhile, we are consolidating our assembly into becoming a more effective and closely integrated institution. And to this end, we have more or less put our acts together, among other things, appointed a permanent Secretary General and provides the necessary finances in order that it may be able to carry out all the duties expected of them towards making our integration efforts a reality. Ladies and gentlemen, delegates, before I hand over the presidency, I would like to express my profound gratitude to all of you for the invaluable support and cooperation that you have given me during this 28th AIPA General Assembly, which I've had the honor to preside. It indeed has given me a great honor, also a great honor to the House of Representatives of Malaysia to host this assembly. And I do hope we have been a good host and that you would all be going home bringing with you but only fond memories of your stay with us. May I take this opportunity to also express my heartfelt gratitude to the staffs of Parliament Malaysia, the various government departments, the Center for ASEAN Studies of the University Technology Mara, or UITM, and all the other agencies that have worked hard in organizing this assembly. I'm also very thankful to all the chairmen, the rapporteur, the coordinator, and members, chairman and members of the committee. I was appointed the president of AIPA, and in a while, when I hand over the presidency to the Speaker of Parliament of Singapore, I shall be doing so as the president of AIPA. Yes, I was very fortunate to be the president during the very exciting, eventful, and historic year, which saw the transformation of AIPA into AIPA, the tightening up of our organization, and the formulation of our expression of hopes for a future and more integrated and cohesive legislature. I take the opportunity again to express our thanks and appreciation to the Indonesian Parliament, particularly the DPRRI, House of Representatives Indonesia, for the complete facilities granted to AIPA's Secretariat in Jakarta. Finally, I wish to mention here that I have no doubt that under Singapore's able stewardship for the period 2007 and 2008, AIPA will reach greater heights and accomplishment. I wish my successor, His Excellency Abdullah Tarmugi, Speaker of the Parliament of Singapore, every success as the new President of AIPA. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you, Your Excellency. Your Excellencies, honorable delegates, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we will now proceed with the ceremony for the handing over of the office of the President of AIPA and followed by the ceremony for the handing over of the gavel of the AIPA presidency. I would like to invite His Excellency Tan Sri Datuk Sri Diraja Ramli bin Talib, Speaker of the House of Representatives of Malaysia, the outgoing President, and His Excellency Mr. Abdullah Tarmugi, Speaker of the Parliament of Singapore, the incoming President, to sign the instrument of transfer of office of the AIPA presidency. Thank you, Your Excellency Tan Sri Datuk Sri Diraja Ramli bin Talib and Your Excellency Mr. Abdullah Tarmugi. Now I have the honor to announce the next ceremony, which is the handing over of the gavel of AIPA presidency from the outgoing president to the incoming president of AIPA. Thank you, Your Excellencies. Now we have come to the last item of the 28th AIPA General Assembly, which is acceptance speech. Now I have the great pleasure of inviting the incoming President of AIPA, His Excellency, Your Excellency Abdullah Tarmugi, to the podium to deliver his acceptance speech.
His Excellency Tan Sri Dato' Sri Diraja Ramli Ngah Talib, Speaker of the Malaysian House of Representatives and President of AIPA and host of the 28th AIPA General Assembly here in KL. My distinguished colleagues, speakers of the parliaments of ASEAN countries, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. We have had a very fruitful and enjoyable General Assembly, and I'm sure that everyone here would agree that our gathering this year has been a great success, and as always, a useful forum for legislators of ASEAN countries to gather and discuss a wide range of topical issues of the day. Our discussions were as serious as our camaraderie was heartfelt, warm, and infectious. Now, I would like at this juncture to express my deepest appreciation to our host, His Excellency Tan Sri Dato' Sri Diraja Ramli Ngah Talib, for the excellent arrangements for the 28th AIPA GA and the warm and generous hospitality accorded to everyone attending this meeting. I'm sure that everyone here shares this sentiment. And with your skillful chairmanship, sir, this assembly has proceeded smoothly and efficiently. Now, I knew I was in great trouble, deep, deep trouble, the moment the dinner hosted by Your Excellency began on Monday night. Because I asked myself, how could I ever match the grandeur, the excitement, the panache, all put together by the food, the entertainment, and the good company at the dinner by Your Excellency. So, Your Excellency, you have indeed given me a very hard act to follow in Singapore. I would also like now to thank the AIPA Secretary General and the Secretariat for all their assistance and support and their guidance and the guidance extended to this meeting. They had worked very hard indeed and long, most times behind the scene, to ensure that everything runs smoothly at this meeting. So indeed, it is indeed with humility and honor that I accept the AIPA presidency for the coming year. And as the incoming president of AIPA, I hope to receive your continued support for the AIPA process, as you have done all these years. Now, when we meet next year in Singapore, and barring any unforeseen circumstances, the ASEAN Charter would have been signed. A new chapter would have begun in intra-ASEAN relations and cooperation. As Singapore will be hosting the 29th AIPA General Assembly in August 2008, I look forward to personally welcoming all of you to Singapore next year. With that, I wish you good health, happiness, and a safe journey home. Thank you.
Excellencies, honorable delegates, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to the conclusion of this assembly. Once again, I wish to express my sincere appreciation and thanks to every one of you for your kind cooperation and invaluable contribution. With your consent, until we meet again next year in Singapore, allow me to declare the 28th AIPA General Assembly officially closed. Thank you.